Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Entitled People. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into today's Reddit posts. You can't use a competitor's phone. Well folks, for those of you who don't know, I work on cell phone towers. I used to work in an extremely remote, rural area for a now defunct small cell phone company. The conversations are to the best of my recollection. The area I worked was the type of area where you could drive for hours and not see anything but field, forests, and animals. Most of the sites I had were what is referred to as island sites, meaning they don't hand off to another cell tower. And most of these sites were about 30 minutes apart on a good day. Well, I worked nights, but you get the drift. So it came around that a competitor had located quite a few sites near our sites. I, being of the mindset of efficiency, purchased a phone from them, and with approval from my boss, kept it ready, especially during upgrades. But he was the type, when anyone above him says boo, he'd jump, and ask if he jumped high enough or should he jump again. So a couple of months later, boss's boss leaves, and we get new boss's boss, who spent 250% of his life in the confines of New York City. Within his first week, he's working the switch, and sees me call in from our competitor's number. Of course, he takes offense to this, and it quickly comes down that nobody may use a competitor's phone. I bring up my concerns, but you know, they don't need to do this in New York City, so we're not going to do this. Mind you, my job is to shut down our sites and upgrade or repair them. Yes, I'm the guy you love to hate when you can't make a phone call. And it so happens a short time later I'm at one of my most remote sites, a 45-minute drive to the next site on a good day. About 4 hours from home. I do my diligence, call the switch, tell them what I need them to change, and shut down the site. An hour later, site's not up. I go through everything on my end. Yup, everything's good. Aw, crap. Now there's a couple of payphones, but they were the competitor's phone. So I start driving. It takes me about 1.5 hours to get to the next site because of a freak blizzard. Crap, that site's down too. Roll on to the next site. Usually about 30 minutes, but it's snowing hard and the roads are crap. 2.5 hours on the road after leaving the original site. I finally get service, pull over, and in 5 minutes, we figured out the switch crossed a number and took down the wrong site. Switch promises to fix it, and I drive 3 hours back to the original site. 30 minutes later, it's still not up. This time, it takes an hour to get to the closest site, call the switch again. They get it up, and after about 30 minutes, I verify it's up. Hooray! But I still have to drive back, clean up, and make some testing calls. 18 some odd hours after I left my driveway, I pull back in and submit my time, complete with overtime. It's my Friday. I turn off my phone and hit the bed. Monday morning, I turn on my phone for a weekly call-in meeting, and I shit you not, it buzzes with new texts and voicemails for 20 straight minutes, all from boss and boss's boss. I jump on the call, and the first thing I hear is boss's boss. Why the f*** did you have a nearly 9-hour outage for a 30-minute upgrade? Before I get a word in, and how dare you claim 9 hours of overtime when you were clearly f***ing around not doing your job? Well, there were a series of issues outside of the site, and a freak snowstorm slowed my response. I hit send on emails I had prepared before clocking out for the weekend, with full rundown of events of the night, as a reply to the emails coming down from him dismissing my needs for a competitor's phone, and included his boss, vice president of the company. Boss's boss says, I don't want to f***ing hear excuses from you. Why didn't you just use a payphone and call for help? Literally everyone on the call groaned, and I say, in case you don't remember, I just replied to a series of emails where you forbade me under threat of termination from using a competitor's phone. At this point, I hear VP join our call. And since payphones are owned by a competitor, I spent 6 hours driving around in a blizzard searching for service, instead of spending 45 minutes to an hour making a call on a competitor's phone. I never threatened to terminate anyone. Don't be stupid, you could have used a payphone, said boss's boss. VP cuts in. It appears, boss's boss, that you do not remember what you said, and Mr. OP has clearly documented his actions on the night in question. Boss's boss, please call me immediately. Thank you everyone else for your time this morning. Please have a good day. This meeting is over. Boss's boss was removed shortly afterwards, having a fairly rocky rest of his short employment. I now work for the company which purchased our competitor. I've moved to my home state, though still work a rural market, it's not quite as bad. Bride went full Gollum on my knitting. I'm staying at a hotel right now. Yesterday afternoon, I went downstairs to the lobby to people watch and knit, because the light's much better down there. Lots of people in the lobby. It turns out there was a wedding party getting ready for whatever wedding parties do. An older woman comes over and starts talking about knitting with me. We chat a while. Then she calls over her daughter, who happened to be the bride, to show her my shawl. The bride comes, is friendly, and then asks, "Are you sure you'll be finishing it in time? I'm leaving tomorrow." I was a bit confused because I didn't know the bride, and I'm not knitting that shawl for anyone but me. Granted, it's white and lacy, and certainly has a bridal look, but still. I laugh it off and say something like, "I don't know you, the shawl is for myself." She went off at me. "This is my wedding. You can't dangle that in front of me and not give it to me. Who do you think you are? I'm never inviting you again." Her poor mother was trying to calm her down and explain that I'm not a guest and have nothing to do with the wedding. I was just standing there totally stumped. The bride finally walked away with a "I don't want your shit anyway," and went back to her group. From the looks I kept getting, she obviously told everyone that I was withholding presents from the bride. The mother apologized, and that was enough for me. But seriously, how can people be this delusional? I believe that's what people call a bridezilla. She must have been so absorbed in all the wedding stuff that she didn't even take a second to consider that OP is just, someone in the hotel. Even if OP was part of the wedding party, that bride's behavior would still be pretty childish. Just run the ad exactly as I wrote it. Saw another post here that reminded me of something that happened to me years ago when I was the editor of a small town newspaper. A local man wanted to run his print campaign advertisements for elected office. He'd done this a few times before in a number of unsuccessful bids for election. Now he had returned and was giving us an earful. The only reason I lost the last time was because all my ads got changed and looked stupid. We had changed his ad with us, slightly. He'd misspelled the name of the office he had been running for, so we had corrected it. Apparently, that made the ad look differently than he wanted, and had somehow cost him the election. "I'm paying you for these ads, so this time I demand you print it exactly as I wrote it. No changes." He stormed off, and I figured the issue was over. Made my job easy. I thought there's no need to proofread this. Just send it over to our advertising person. But let me look at it anyway. I read it over and told others, and it wasn't long before the whole office had a good laugh. His advertisement read, "His name for elected office. Always there, comma. For you to help." What makes it even better is we later learned he had apparently made a similar speech and demand at the offices of other newspapers where he ran the advertising as well, so they all had the same wording. He lost the election. Again. He did not, however, complain about his advertisement this time. Karen teacher tried to do the right thing, but ended up getting someone killed. This is an old story that my dad told me in the mid-90s from his friend who was a firefighter. Karen worked as a headmistress at a primary school in North London. The school was next to a very busy road that at the time had no speed restrictions, so a lot of idiots would speed past without a care in the world. There had been many complaints from parents and teachers to the local council, which were of course ignored. One day a car driving twice the speed limit lost control and crashed into a parked car. The parked car then struck a child outside the school. The child was seriously injured but did eventually make a full recovery. But this event inspired Karen to stage a protest by blocking the road. She got full support from the parents and her staff. So for the whole day they stood in the road, not allowing any vehicles to pass. While this was happening, a fire had broken out in a high-rise flat, and the local fire brigade needed a specialized fire engine with a long crane. I don't know what they're called, in order to reach the people trapped inside. Unfortunately, the quickest way there was through the street Karen was blocking. The truck was trapped in the traffic and couldn't get out unless Karen unblocked the road. But no matter how much the fire crew demanded and begged, Karen refused to let anyone through. Her reason: a child was nearly killed here. Apparently she said the sentence repeatedly, even to the police when they threatened her with arrest. The fire crew were held up for over 30 minutes until they got the call on the radio. They were no longer needed. 3 people died. The fireman in charge was so pissed he stormed over to Karen and demanded her to move the roadblock. Once again she refused, stating that a child was nearly killed. The fireman interrupted her and shouts in her face, Someone was killed because of you. I hope you sleep well tonight because your actions cost people their lives." Karen then opened the road and stopped the protest. But later that day, that fireman who chewed her out received an official complaint from Karen for trying to blame her for the incompetence of the fire service. Unfortunately, I have no information about Karen, or if she got arrested or sued, but nothing came of her complaint to the fireman. I think the fact that she called off the protest after that really shows that she knew that she screwed up. So why then would she still go on to make a formal complaint against the fireman? I'm sure there are various opinions about the concept of blocking a road for the sake of protest, but I think we can almost all agree that if a first responder is trying to get through for an emergency, you should probably let him through. Your unprofessional wigs are making me sick. Obligatory, not my story. My wife attends Bunko on Tuesday, and heard this from a nurse, or CNA or RNA. Not sure which acronyms, but she is a medical professional. We'll call her Susie. Susie has a very positive and upbeat personality, with a wild sense of style. She wears very bright clothes and likes to wear wigs. And no, she does not have cancer. But she's always rocking an awesome wig that matches her outfit. My wife even sends pics to me aside from the social media posts of their night. She wants to get wigs and lets me know by way of these pics. Last Bunko night, Susie tells the gals about one of her patients that clearly did not like her. She always has a frumpy face when looking at her and always has a problem. The patient was getting continuous care and saw Susie regularly over the past few weeks, so this attitude grated on her over time. But this time, she crossed a line. Upon her latest visit, she told Susie, "Your unprofessional wigs are making me sick. Stop wearing all these different crazy wigs." Instantly, right then and there, Susie took off her wig, making sure it clearly showed one of her reasons for wearing wigs in the first place. She had long clumps of hair that gnarled out in all directions, showing bald spots as well. Susie has alopecia and lets it grow out to help fasten the wigs at times, what my wife was told. It was quite the sight to behold, and Susie ended with, "Is this professional enough for you?" Susie wishes she could have a picture of the moment, but the way she described the lady's snarled lip at the side of her, and in response to the action, was classic. She gave me permission to put this up, provided I changed names and didn't get specific. Deal. The patient never said anything mean to her again, and even made an attempt at smiling the last time she saw her. That's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button as well. So I'm out of here. Have an awesome day, friends, and I'll see you next time.